All right, folks, here we go. It is going to be a fairly fast episode as I am actually doing this all alone. So prepare yourselves for pretty much no comebacks, no cutbacks, or anything like that when I shoot my shots here for the NFL slate for we're going on week 8, which is insane because we have flown by already pretty much almost halfway to the end of the season already now. So off to an interesting start here, but week 8, here we go. We got the Vikings on the screen too. It's just going to be a good time. Already, right now, we got a tie game and midway through the first quarter. The Vikings coming off of a loss on the Lions. Can't wait to talk about that piece in a little bit. And, well, talk about it now, actually, because they're the team that's up. So, I mean, yeah, great game by the Lions. I expected a great one. It was going to be an awesome game, great NFC playoff game, if you ask me. Would love to see 3 rounds of that. Personally, the Lions have had our number lately, so I'm just trying to sit here and think maybe possibly that we go ahead and see a potential change. I want to see the Vikings split in the regular season. That would just give me a lot more encouragement going into the playoff game, but also just keep things interesting, man. I think if they can do it, but right now Lions are for sure probably the NFC favorite. The Vikings are now coming back onto the field here. They have to find a way to beat the Rams because the Lions have this little thing going on, this trend where every time a team plays the Lions, they lose the next week. So, can the Vikings beat the trend? Right now, it's already a tie game. The Rams just went down the field. For those who don't know, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are back in this game. So, it's getting, like I said, week 8 is getting a great start already, if you ask me. We might be in for a Thursday night classic, hopefully. Um, but yeah, so the Rams getting fully tooled. We'll see what happens with them as there's been trade rumors with Cooper Kupp. I don't want to believe in them personally. I think that whatever they have going on in LA, they're probably just going to ride it out. I don't see them trading mid-season. So that's just me though. Of course, that's just me. So onward to the slate here and everything. We got the 1 o'clock slot. We got starting off the Cardinals at the Dolphins. Dolphins are 3.5 point favorites, as word is Tua's back. A lot of people coming back week 8, so it's making teams feeling revitalized. And right now, the Cardinals, in my opinion, 3 point underdogs. It makes sense. I think they can pull it off personally. I can definitely see them making this game interesting because of how rough it's been for Miami. The question is Tua going to really be the answer here? Is he really actually going to be enough to solve all those problems and everything? Because you're already getting angry Tyreek and everything like that. He's already online. He's posting and all that jazz. So can you get Tua back and get this team rolling again? That's going to be an interesting spot. I want to be an optimist though, and I'm going to say absolutely. I think if he's that much of an X factor as everyone has been saying he is, we see the numbers. It's been a harsh decline for not only Tyreek, but also Jalen Waddle and the whole passing game in general. So we're really getting a chance to see how much quarterback is needed in a system like that. And it's not good news if you're a Mike McDaniels fan like I am. And so hopefully, if Tua does come back and play and he's all, cleared and ready to go, I would say, yeah, I'll take the Dolphins here. I can definitely see why Christian took the Cardinals because there's a lot more risk in picking the Dolphins than there is taking the Cards. So, I mean, let's think about it. The Cards are bringing in a solid defense. They're bringing in a solid offense too. So you know that they're going to play solid on both sides of the ball. It's a much more dependable choice, if you ask me, which is why the line here saying that it's a 3.5 point slide for the Dolphins is all because of Tua. Or is it because people just believe that's how much of a game changer he is? You can consider that for yourself. But right now, I'm going to stick with Tua. I'm going to take this Tua storyline here. Like I said, not surprised though for the Cardinals pick for Christian's side. And let's go on to the next game. We got the Jets at the Patriots. The Patriots are home dogs for their second matchup. against the Jets. They're 7-point underdogs, a whole touchdown, no point, no halves, no nothing, just straight business on this one. Can easily see the push. However, I'm going to go ahead and say there's been a lot of flack with the whole Jared Mayo coming out saying that his team is soft. Could that respark the team? Maybe. I personally can see it going south, but he is a defensive coach, so maybe he's just saying that to also wake up his defense. Like, for example, that defense probably shouldn't have been getting cut up by like that against Trevor Lawrence. Maybe that's why he was saying those things. Um, I personally am going to go ahead and say this is a Drake May game. I mean, this is the first time. I think a lot of Patriots fans would love to see Drake May spoil the Jets' fun even more. There would be a huge first win, especially carrying on the tradition that New England used to have of beating the Jets. But if Rodgers does come in here with Devontae Adams, with Alan Lazard, with Brees Hall, with all these other, and Garrett Wilson. Sorry, I can't believe I've forgotten him, right? But you got all these guys, you got this tailored offense for them, and the Jets are sitting here wondering why their defense is slacking. I think everyone in the room knows what's going on with defense, and hopefully Jeff Ulbrich can get it together at some point, and maybe he has to trust his new offensive coordinator a little bit more than he would be anticipating. But I think you got to do what you got to do if you got to get this defense back in check and give a little more trust to your offensive coordinator and Rodgers, as probably gross as that is, just saying it out loud. So if I had to choose somebody here, I feel like the Jets are probably the easy one to pick. I can definitely see them covering the 7, maybe hanging at least 10. I can definitely see that happening. But at New England, with a new quarterback, it's already feeling like a little bit of a different offense because then they're going to get their receivers back because Demario Douglas was sick and can play a full half of football. So go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and take the Patriots here in the underdog spot personally. I think Drake May is going to make this offense a little bit fun, a lot more fun, actually, I should say. And when you go ahead and consider the fact that the Jets' defense has fallen off since Saleh left, I think it just spells a good chance for the rookie to get his first win. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Patriots here and to cover the line as well. It's a lot of points, folks. I gotta take the points. But going on to the next game, we got the Eagles to the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals are home favorites by 2.5 points. Christian obviously took the Eagles here. Again, don't blame him because, I mean, the Eagles are the more probably sound team on both sides of the ball. When it comes to the Bengals, we're still trying to figure out what's going on. Why are they having to do all these shootouts? What happened to this defense when we hear that they still got some of the names like Hendrickson and they still got that front seven, I'm pretty sure, actually, so I don't have to list them all out. But pretty sure for the most part, that front seven is supposed to be really strong. And considering the fact that right now, we're still looking at the fact that the Browns were able to still stick around for a little bit longer than they should. And you only scored what? You only won by 7 points against the Browns last week. Surprisingly, you're coming in as a home favorite, in my opinion. Obviously, a surprise. I truly think that if we go with the Eagles here, it just makes more sense. And I feel like you have Jalen Hurts, he's got his weapons, and this is a huge game for them as well. I can't wait to talk about the Commander situation because that's going to be interesting itself. But just getting into the fact that the Eagles, they have a chance to still win this division. By far, they still have a chance. And for the most part, they can make a push away from the Cowboys to the fact that for those Eagles fans out there that love taking jabs at the Cowboys, this is it. This is it. This is one of those games where you can come out and say that shut down an MVP-like quarterback with Joe Burrow, who's been having a great season for the most part. So where does it all begin? And I think it has to start with the Eagles defense, though. I definitely can see Joe Burrow giving them problems, giving them fits. That's the only thing that's making me hesitant towards going towards the Eagles here. But like I said, they're going to be solid on both sides of the ball compared to the Bengals, where they're going to be a little bit more iffy on defense. Don't know really what's going on there. They're still probably figuring out that run game. So give me the Eagles. I'm going to join Christian of the Eagles on that one. And they're underdogs. I think that's the crazier part of that. They're underdogs. All right. Going on to game number 4. We got the Packers going to Jacksonville. Jacksonville, surprisingly, only a 3.5 point dog, which in this case, I'm going to just go ahead and keep it as simple as possible. Give me the Packers. Why is it only 3 points or 3.5, I should say? Probably should be more. I would at least lean. This should have been like the Jets Patriots line, probably 7.5. Is it because they really think it's that because of Jordan Love being so gung ho, like Brett Favre? If you ask me, I'm going to go ahead and say that if he's playing like Brett Favre, then we both know that he's probably going to go close to 400 yards in this game if he gets what he wants. But Josh Jacobs has also been a monster. I think the only reason why we haven't been hearing much about him is because of the run game that we hear in Detroit, the run game that we hear in Baltimore. I mean, for God's sakes, those two teams are cooking it up. But if you remember, Josh Jacobs still giving valuable carries, valuable reps for the Packers offense. And that's going to be, I mean, it just spells defeat for the Jaguars. I know they have a great running defense, but you got to consider the fact that they're also going to get hit over the top and below. It's going to be rough. So I really think that when it comes to the Jaguars, the inconsistency with Trevor Lawrence is so rough, man. I just wish that I didn't put my 10 toes down on them, man. It is really rough when it comes down to that Jacksonville situation. I personally would love to have the optimism that Colby had for this team. I would love to check in and see what he's still thinking about this team because I mean, do we really think that a win against the Patriots justifies them being only 3.5 point favorites against the Packers? That's what I'm saying. Anyways, to the next one, game number 5. We got the Falcons at the Bucks. The the Bucks are 2.5 point dogs at home. I know why is because they're completely depleted in the receiving room. I mean, they made Mike it not made, but they elected to have Mike Evans, go out there and play and everything with a questionable hamstring. Did his thing, got his catch, got his touchdown grab. Kudos to that. But right afterwards, goes down south, and then we all see or heard, I hope we at least just heard about Chris Godwin and his injury late in the fourth quarter. So the receiving room's depleted for the Bucks. I mean, but injuries have just been a constant theme for that team. And somehow, in some way, they are still putting up good, close football games. I can definitely see why they're putting them as a 2.5 dog underdog is because, like I said, they're depleted and they're staying in close games. However, I am going to say that this is probably going to be even closer than 2.5. I think the Bucks are in a good spot here to keep it interesting. I think Baker's going to come out still firing, still going to be just as motivated and passionate just to win this game just because of what happened to him in Atlanta. I think he's going to remember that. He's going to play out of his mind. He might take it upon himself, probably him and Sean, that running backs of Bucks have been solid as well. Let's not forget that. So let's go ahead. Let's keep this thing interesting, man. I am going to go with Baker. This is just a Baker moment. I mean, you're telling me he doesn't have experience with, subpar receiver rooms? Come on. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the Bucks. I know the Falcons are going to come out swinging with their high-profile offense, but like I said, injuries have been a theme for this team. It just feels like this is a moment where we figure out what is going on with the Falcons because either it's good or bad, and it's going to be that soon. Last week was a 1 o'clock game for the Falcons. My theory might be correct. Did Kirk Cousins actually chain in his chains so that way he can play in prime time, but not 1 o'clock games? However, this is a rivalry game. This is a must step up moment. It is reasonable for people to choose the Falcons here. I'm not going to lie. But I'm going to also just stand here on my ground and say, there's no way. There's no way I'm not going to choose the Bucks here. I just feel it in my gut that this is more of a Bucks game incoming than it is the Falcons. All right. On to the Ravens and Browns. Browns are 8.5 point underdogs as Deshaun Watson is finally carted up. Well, I shouldn't say finally, but he has been carted off the field last game. Jameis Winston is playing now as the backup quarterback for that situation, and it's going to be a different offense for sure. Nick Chubb is back, and I think that's the most important thing here when we're considering the Browns' offense as well. It's the fact that they finally get some stability in the running back position with the limited carries he had last time. He's still got a touchdown. So who knows what he's feeling, how he's feeling after the fact that he's now got a game underneath his belt and another week of practice, probably going full mode. So I'm going to go ahead and say, give me Nick Chubb. It just makes the most sense here to cover the line at least. I understand why Christian's going to say Baltimore is probably the easiest money you can have right now. Why? Well, Lamar Jackson just put up 5 touchdowns against Baker and the Bucks defense. Um, that's another reason why I think Kirk Cousins is in for a little bit of a challenge. He's not Lamar. I think that's going to be shown in the next week as well. But back to the Ravens, I can definitely see them. This is an AFC North rivalry game, but at the same time, I can definitely see the Ravens just dog walking this one as well. Can easily see them going out here and just yeah, handling this Browns team. I mean, they got the defense, they got the offense. It just sounds like it's going to be a complete slaughter. It's going to be a complete slaughter. So just talked myself into it, but I'm definitely going to probably go ahead and switch it over. I'm going to take a risk on the points as well with Christian and just take the Ravens. I now that you talk myself out of it, I can definitely see the Browns making this fun. If Jameson Winston just somehow has one of those games where he's just popping off. But when it comes with Jameis Winston and he's popping off, there's also those times where he doesn't pop at all and he's just throwing interceptions. So I'm going to take the Ravens here. It's a lot of points, but it makes sense if you ask me. It's just whatever's going on in Cleveland. It just hasn't been pretty. All right. Going on to the Colts and Texans. Oh man, only 5.5 points for the Texans. Maybe I'm crazy for saying only, but I'm going to go ahead and actually take the Colts here as well with Christian. It's mainly because they play really good division rivalry football in the AFC South. I mean, it's that simple. If the Texans come out here and blow them out, I'd be more surprised because these games have been electrifying when it comes to Anthony Richardson versus CJ Stroud. They have been very fun. So the need to say less, really. So Colts offense still a little bit questionable. Texans don't have Nico Collins, and they got shut down. Their receiving core got shut down. I'm actually a I'm actually a victim as well of the Texans offense because I had Tank Dell in fantasy football. So there goes that, right? He had a whopping zero catches, 0 yards, and the whole receiving core, I'm pretty sure, actually went below 10. I think Stephon Diggs also had a rough time with Jair getting all up in his grill. Oh, man, sorry for the pause, folks. It's just third down, and they're just throwing a holding call when the play wasn't even near him, but it's what it is. Um, just giving them a free chance. You know how it is in the NFL. Got to give everyone a free chance on here and there. Keep it interesting, especially on prime time. I'm just a Vikings fan with this bias, though. I mean, yeah, what that you're calling that? That's tacky. Anyways, so can the Texans blow this team out? That's really what the line is saying. Can they actually pull off the blowout? And I'm going to say no. I'm going to go ahead and stick with the Colts here. I think it's just the correct and easy move. Going on to the next one. This is our last 1 o'clock game, and it is actually our biggest spread line of the week. It is going to be the Lions hosting the Titans. The Lions are 11.5 point favorites. Goodness gracious, I don't think the Titans are going to cover this line. They lose D-Hop this week. They lost a weapon. It's just going to be Unless they find a way to make it scrappy, that's the only way I can see this being interesting. They did it for the Bills for the first half, so give them credit where it's due. But I'm gonna keep this simple here, folks. I mean, I seen the Lions last week firsthand. It was rough to watch, but at the same time, Jared Goff has just been on an absolute tear on this league. He tore through one of the best defenses in the league. It's really nothing left to say on that topic, really. It's the Lions. I'll take the points, and I'm just can't really overthink this because there's no way I'm talking myself out of it to the Titans. All right. 4 o'clock. Puka Nakua getting the Rams into the red zone, it looks like. He's having a pretty good game, not gonna lie. He's already eating for himself. I can only imagine what those fantasy owners have been. Well, I don't know. If you had the cahoots to do it at the last minute, good for you. But for the ones that didn't, it's probably a little tough watch because he's got the hair flowing and everything. Yeah, it's a new Nakua. So on to the back to the game slate though, because I'm pretty sure they're going to score this. Uh, Go ahead. We got the 4 p.m. games starting off. We got a probably going to be an easier one said than done. We got the Saints at the Chargers. Chargers are 7.5 point favorites. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Even though the Chargers offense is really, really rough at some points here. I mean, only field goals, I'm pretty sure, last week. There is a lot of room for concern and everything. I can see why people are saying that Herbert is, getting wasted in the just hardball offense. In my opinion, I think that it's just going to take a little bit more time. Maybe a hardball. Yes, he's keeping it simple. He's just playing smack mouth football. But I think that if you give Herbert a little bit more, I think he just needs to give Herbert a little bit more leeway. If he can do that, it would make it more fun to watch. And the problem is they don't have the receivers to do it. I mean, for God's sakes, Quentin Johnston got hurt and he was already in. He's having already going back to his inconsistent ways of last season. Lad McConkey has been sparse on the showing. I mean, he probably has his moments, sure. I mean, I'm not sitting here watching Chargers games right hand up, but I will say that hey, I can check fantasy at any time, and those numbers are not appealing. So it's a little concerning when you consider that. And yes, their running backs are just having a day. I mean, that's the hardball way. So what can they do? I mean, the Saints are going to play right into their cards. I feel like they need to play a game that's going to be smash mouth football. They need that. They know their quarterback is struggling. They're going to have Alvin Kamara. They just re-signed. They just extended him. They got the defense still because yes, they got cut up by Bo Nix, but that's probably more Sean Payton just having that one queued up, ready to go these last couple seasons, and he's been waiting for his chance. I think that's what that was. I think he was waiting for his chance. We'll talk a little bit more about the Broncos in a couple games, but I'm gonna go ahead and take. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I just can't take the Saints here. I have to take the Chargers. It just makes sense to me. I know it's a lot of points, and this offense is really gross, but I'm going to take Chargers again here. And the Vikings are getting rigged on these flags. They're throwing another one on third down and long. Is it another holding call just to give them 5 yards, but the automatic first down? No, they're calling passing interference. Wow. All right. I'm going to watch this real quick. Here we go. Makes a cut. Where's the contact? Oh, okay. Yeah, he was early. He was early. He didn't look at the ball. He was early. That is clear PI. Even though you can argue that it wasn't catchable, he was early. He just got a little antsy. You gotta admit he was early. I mean, he was all over him. That was PI. I'm gonna admit that was a PI. But like I said, they're again first down again on the 6 yard line. What are they gonna do? Good stop by Ivan Pace, baby. He is a beast. So yeah, I'm gonna take the Chargers. Can definitely see though. Saints easily covering that line and biting me back in the ass. All right, to the Next one, we got the Bills at the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle's 3-point underdogs. Oh, what is Christian thinking in there? Well, one can only know as he has Seattle as his pick. I'm going to go with take the Bills here. I mean, sure, both teams are a little inconsistent, I would say, but I'm going to go with the Bills. I think you just have the play of Josh. No way that Matthew Stafford just pulled that off. This is ridiculous. Two grown men getting thrown off of Matthew Stafford's shoulder is insane. This defense needs to be chewed out. Ain't no way Matthew Stafford should be doing that at his age. That is insane. I mean, that was an awesome play. I'm not gonna lie. That's a little bit of my, bias, but that is just an insane play. Two defensive linemen couldn't bring down Matthew Stafford. You gotta have it. That's a reality check talk with your defense right there, Brian Flores. You gotta They're getting cut up by the LA Rams. I mean, it is 14-14, only in the second quarter of the game. Like I said, we are gearing up probably for an instant classic. Man, I'm not gonna lie, I wish I had a little bit of chance to watch this a little bit more. I could tell that this is probably going to be an interesting one. So on to the Bills, though, in Seattle. I'm taking the Bills just because they have a more consistent offense. I think with Amari Cooper, things are going to come together. This line could be higher by the time the game starts, if you ask me. I mean, there's a chance that McDonald's defense has a good day today, but I don't think that's going to be this day. I'm going to go ahead and take the Bills. And is it a little bit because of Gino as well? Maybe. Not going to lie. All right, to the next one, we got the Bears at the Commanders. We finally get to the game where I had to actually put a little note down because Christian did as well. He said, Bears, if Jaden McDaniels is not playing. I would personally say this probably would have been the hardest defense for Jaden McDaniels yet. I would take the Bears, honestly, whether he was playing or not. I think this would have been a moment for the Bears to prove that they can win against a quality opponent. And this probably would have been the hardest defense that also this is probably the hardest game that both the rookies could have had if they both play. If it was Jane versus Caleb and they actually both play instead of Caleb versus Mariota, this is probably going to be the hardest games that both rookies have had, which would have made this game even more fun to watch. However, we get what we get, and I'm going to take the Bears. It's only 2.5 and everything. On the road is interesting, but I mean, like I said, the Bears have a very solid defense. They have Caleb Williams, who seems like he's developing every single week, which is what you want to see when you're a Bears fan. I know it's an exciting time for those guys because he's popped off. He's coming off the bye now after the London trip. So, I mean, what else can go wrong for this Bears team? I think they got a chance here to really, really stake a claim that they're an NFC playoff team. And if they can do it, there's a strong chance that the NFC North can pull off a whole sweep in the NFC. That would be insane. Probably should be the first time ever happened since they added three teams now to the whole situation, to the playoffs. All right. And to the Commanders, the reason why you're underdogs is probably because Mariota is more likely or not to play. So we got the Panthers and Broncos. Broncos 10.5 point home favorites. Shout out to the family that are at the game. I love how they all chose this one because they all figured that this should be an easy win. Bryce Young is going to play this game. There is no longer the Andy Dalton experience. It's back to Bryce Young. So what really is going on here with Carolina? Let's be honest. Jonathan Brooks is getting closer and closer to his comeback, but Chuba Hubbard has been filling the part pretty well. Um, Bo Nix, on the other side of this, has been doing what he's been asked, doing what he can do, doing what he's told. I think Bo Nix can do the same thing here. 10.5 points is a lot of points, though, for the Broncos. You're essentially saying that they're going to replicate what they can do to what they did to the Saints last time on prime time. So I'm going to take the risk here. Oh, yeah. Thank you. I was about to say, man, these were what? How's that a flag on us? I'm sorry. These refs are getting out of control, in my opinion. But anyways, maybe we did jump. Hang on. Maybe it's just the Vikings just being undisciplined. Maybe it is. Let me just I hope there's a chance that I can see it for myself real quick before I keep embarrassing myself here, rooting for the Vikings. Been a tough week for Minnesota sports, let me tell you. But yeah, we jumped. Anyways, Carolina, that's a big line. But I think Sean Payton's going to take care of this. So I'm going to go ahead and just take the Broncos. I know that there's a chance that Bo Nix lets us down and he has inconsistent play once again, but we really think that like I said, Bo Nix is being told what to do and how much, and really stay inside the box, not really think outside of it. He's just playing his type of ball. We'll see if he develops a little bit more. I feel like Sean Payton doesn't really want him to do all the fun, wild stuff yet. I mean, I don't know why. I think he's a rookie guy. He's already got some years on him because of college. So go ahead and let him do his thing. I think it's that simple. Just go ahead and let the kid do his thing. All right, we got three more coming up. Start off these last three games. We got the Chiefs at Raiders. Raiders are 9.5 point underdogs, and this is where I think I have to put my stand in. I think this is the last stand for Antonio Pierce and the Raiders Kool-Aid ever for the season, probably. Gardner Minshew back in action. Aiden O'Connell got hurt, broke his hand on a helmet. It's a very common injury for quarterbacks, sadly. Um, and I really think that with whatever they got left, they have to at least cover this line and make it a close, respectable game. 9.5 is a lot of points, man. And if you so-called have the recipe or got players walking around with a Kermit the Frog made Mahomes, you gotta live up to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and say maybe they are the one team that can always give the Chiefs some sort of fits. If they can do that, it would have my respect and it would make more reason for me to cover them, choose them a little bit more often in this season. So, like I said, this is my last stand for the Raiders, but that's going to be a really tall ask. I can easily see D Hop getting a guarantee here. It's actually one of Christian's honorable mentions, which is really surprising that I didn't have it on a do, probably because I think D Hop did score last week against the Bills. But it just makes sense. I mean, you gotta think about it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was going to be D Hop, Travis Kelce. I mean, obviously Kareem Hunt. I mean, come on. The dude's just stealing Pacheco's job until he comes back, of course. He's filling in perfect. Um, I would go ahead and say though, give me the Raiders, like I said. This is their last stand. And I feel like a lot of people who are, looking at these type of things are gonna be saying the same thing. This has to be the last stand for the Raiders. If you're gonna actually have any sort of, you know, say and trying to actually put your hat in the ring and say, yeah, we can always get the Chiefs some problems, then at least make this a competitive game. At least make it to a point where it can be something that people can actually point to and be like, okay, there is this one team. How do they do it? Because then there's a record for it. It would be a how do they do it type situation. On the Kansas City side, like I said, offense is incredible. Weapons wise, you look on paper, it's obviously incredible. They have been shaky, and you've been hearing this all week. The defense is still the show because Steve Spagnuolo is the man to beat at this point in the AFC. It's not Mahomes, it's Steve Spagnuolo. I mean, he's the one that's orchestrating this defense. Chris Jones has been amazing. Insert other young defensive talent that has been just washed away. That's exactly what's been happening in the Chiefs. Whoever they draft has just been turning out beautifully. So I forgot what his name was. Off the Karloftis is probably some Chiefs fan out there is probably like, there we go. He's got one. And I would say one of them could be Karloftis. There's probably a deep back that I'm missing right now. But I mean, the one thing that they have missed when it comes to drafting is wide receivers. I mean, I mean, Xavier Worthy, yes, he has his moments, but they need to start using him as less as a tacky, receiver and try and mix it up a little bit more than you did with, maybe give him a little bit more trust like you did with Tyreek. I feel like that would really help your offense a lot. I know that you got to develop that relationship and trust, but as an Xavier Worthy fantasy football owner, that'd be pretty amazing. Instead of giving all those throws to D Hop, that'd be nice. But maybe D Hop helps out with Xavier Worthy finally. Maybe teams can finally get off his back, and we can see some more big plays. So that's where I stand on that. Give me the Raiders final stand, as that was our final 4 o'clock game. So that means as we go on to the last two games here, the primetime slots, Monday night, not Monday night, Sunday night football. It's the Cowboys at the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are 4.5 point favorites as they don't have Debo, Brandon Ayuk. They got Kill. I'm pretty sure they got Trent. I'm pretty sure. And they got Brock. This is a big week for Brock Purdy. This is a big week for Dak Prescott. Both these teams need this game. Both these teams need it. It's that simple. That's why this game, honestly, should be the only one that should be justified as a toss up here. It should be a 1.5 toss up, if you ask me. This is a must win game. Both offenses don't look the same as we are used to seeing. Both defenses don't look the same and we're not used to. It's not the same. These guys both need the win, and whoever you pick here, it should be a toss up in your mind. If you think that it's that easy to side with one team, you need to start spilling some beans because I feel like this should be one of the better primetime games that we've had too. I think they can live up to the hype. I think this one can definitely. It might be gross if I'm being 100% honest. It could be 100% gross. Like I'm talking like it's going to be a field goal shootout, sure. But to these fan bases, man, this is going to be a close one. I think this is going to be a nail biter. See why Dallas is picked for 4.5 with Christian, but I gotta go with the San Francisco 49ers. I think it's almost in their DNA as of late. If the Cowboys win this game, it's going to be all hell, but it's going to be like, okay, now they finally got over that hump, and the 49ers are now in big trouble. And I'm talking like, is Brock Purdy actually going to be worth a contract extension? Should the 49ers go out and draft a new quarterback at the end of this season? And if they do, who do they draw? What do they do at this point? Do they start selling before the deadline? It's questions on questions on questions, man. And these guys are just throwing flag after flag after flag. Oh my gosh. What is it now? It's probably on the Vikings again, but who is it now? I'm sorry, folks. This is just getting ridiculous. Finally, I don't understand. This has just been ridiculous. I'm sorry, Rams fans. I know I said finally, but this is out of control. They are just littering the field with yellow garbage. Um, that's how I see it, of course. But uh, San Francisco must win game. Can't give it up. They got to get this one. I mean, all the drama in the world for both teams if they lose this game. So I can only imagine with the Dallas Cowboys. It's already been a rough couple of weeks, so I can only imagine how much more it can only get. How much more worse can it get? So give me the 49ers. I feel like if they win this one, everyone's going to be like, oh, okay, they're still good enough to probably make the playoffs. And then people will probably start giving them a little bit more of their respects. That's why I'm more concerned about the 49ers. I just feel like their story is still not written off yet. So Going on to the last game of the slate, it's probably going to be one-sided as it should be. Giants at Steelers, Monday Night Football. Steelers is 6.5 point favorites. I am pretty sure they're finally pulling the plug on Daniel Jones, is what I've heard. If they don't, or if they do, I don't think it's going to change the outcome of this game because of the Steelers' defense. I don't think I see the Giants' defense posing much of a threat to Russell Wilson. Who would have thought that sentence would come out, right? Russell Wilson has actually looked really good, played against the Jets defense, made him look really bad. And here we go. Do we get a repeat? If we get a repeat game of that, I mean, congratulations. You beat two New York teams. But what can actually happen after this for them? So go ahead, give me the Steelers. I feel like this is another easy one for me. And we'll go ahead and go wrap up the slate there. All right. So, as we always love to do, we're going to gear up and get ready for we'll go ahead and gear up and get ready for our locks and do's as always. I'm going to go ahead and just get a little quick peeksy here because both Christian and Colby sent in their picks as they always do during their absence. Now, very well. I mean, let me just say, Christian sent I'm talking the entire slate. So shout out to the guy. I mean, that really helped me a lot, especially since I'm doing this solo. I can at least get a little bit of reassurance for some of my takes. Or to be quite honest with you, can go the opposite way, a lot easier, and just ask him when he gets back, what were you thinking? So appreciate it though, big dog. If you hear when you hear this, really do appreciate that. And shout out to Colby as well for constantly sending over his picks while we get ready, while he's making a move and stuff like that and transitioning. Um, yeah, it's a big time for the podcast. A lot of the guys just doing big things right now and everything. And I'm just lucky and blessed to, be here and knock this out one last time every week and everything like that on every Thursday. It's been it's been pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. We got to experience some pretty cool stuff on this podcast and cover some interesting champions and all that fun nature. So on to like I said, the locks and dues list. I do have the dues list already written out. However, been kind of struggling as a show lately. So what I'm going to do is we're gonna actually do the dues list last instead of first. Try and mix it up a little bit. Maybe. And if Christian goes 3 for 3 this time, then I'm just gonna have to start putting the dues last. It just makes that much more sense. So, but going off of our locks from last week, I went 1-2, which makes me 10-10-1, 500 once again going into week 7. Christian is 13-8 after going 2-1. Colby also went 2-1, and he is at 12-9. And our guest slot is still sitting at 9-9. So whenever we do get somebody to come in, they're in a pretty nice position as they're already in 500. So Colby and Christian, we got to go ahead and see what they got here cooking up for us because I have to do the honorable thing here and keep it real. Christian's the number one picker for today, and his number one is going to be the Green Bay Packers, -3.5. And then the next person would be Colby, and Colby is going to go with the Colts, +5.5. Interesting. All right. I'm going to try and write that in for Colby real quick here. So just in case. So he also believes in the Colts with me. Um, to be quite honest with you folks, I think both these guys don't have the Lions line, which is intriguing. Oh, Christian does. He has it as his fourth pick, though. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take the Lions and everything. I think that one's a gimme and everything. And then for the next one, Christian surprisingly doesn't have his Ravens on here. So I'm going to go ahead and actually switch and check Colby. Because if Colby sent his, and he doesn't have the Steelers. He doesn't. Interesting. I'm going to take the Steelers in the primetime spot here. I think that's a easy one as well. I'm going to take two big spreads here and go back to Colby. He's going to be taking Seattle. Seattle +3. And Christian, for his next two back-to-back picks, can't have Seattle. He'll have the Jets and Cowboys. The Jets are going to be -7, and the Cowboys are going to be 4-point underdogs. 4.5, sorry. Colby, back to him. His last pick of the day is going to be the Saints. Wow. He actually had the knowledge to do it. I 100% think that's going to be an easy pick as well for him. I'm not touching my Chargers one, but I would definitely take the Saints as an underdog. That one was probably an easy gimme as well. And for me, my final pick of the weekend, week 8 slate, you know, it's hard to say that lightning strikes twice, so I can't go with the Broncos, but I will go with. I know I'm hesitating a lot, especially because I'm just trying to make sure I really want to do this. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Eagles. I'm going to say this one is going to be, even though they're underdogs, if they actually get sliced up by Joe Burrow as bad as I think they will, and their offense can't keep up, I'm just picturing how much trouble will this spell for Nick Sirianni. And right now, I just want to think happy thoughts, right? Happy thoughts. Because if they pull this off, they're back to their NFC, one of the top spots in the NFC. So if they pull this off, they will be in a great position. Give me the Eagles. Feels like they're in a lot of must-win games in the AFC North right now, doesn't it? Back-to-back weeks, it seems like. Hopefully, they don't get a trip with the Ravens. If so, that's going to probably be a little ugly. But it's neither here or there for right now. That was the week 8 locks. Just a quick rundown, real quick. I'm not going to say the extra lines because I have to run and find them again. But Colby got the Colts, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Saints. Christian's got the Packers, the Jets, and Cowboys. I got the Lions, Steelers, and Eagles. Hoping this does not go 1-2 again. As I do a little cheesy thumbs up there for you. All right. Last but not least, it is the dues list. Christian, maybe he put a little bit more thought into this because he finally got time to think about it without being on the spot. Maybe. I don't know. I can't wait to ask once again. We got Tyreek Hill coming with Tua coming back. Devontae Adams getting another chance with Aaron Rodgers. And David Montgomery from the Lions to continue eating against the Titans. With his honorable mention, as mentioned earlier, D Hop, and he still wants to keep trying for Ricky Pearsall. So there you go. That dues list, by the way, would give you plus 658 on the parlay. And that is the week 8 slate, folks. Got to go into some final thoughts, of course. It's very different doing final thoughts myself. But if I have to say one thing, is I hope I'm correct about this Minnesota Vikings game and that it's an instant classic. The scoring has slowed down, so hopefully it's not that bad. Hopefully this game can stay at least entertaining in the scoring department. On the other side of things, I would love to talk about the NBA. I'm not the NBA guy, obviously. I'm rocking my Minnesota Timberwolves, not my Minnesota Timberwolves beanie. This is the Vikings one. And when it comes to that, I gotta say, man, those Timberwolves did not look too great against the Lakers, at least. I mean, is JJ Redick really going to be the answer? Are the Celtics that easily going to blow by the East again? Because they just made easy work of the Knicks, breaking the 3-point record, I'm pretty sure. So it's NBA is back. Let's just say that. The NBA is back. All the drama's back. I was just having a blast watching Ant-Man jawing at the Lakers and getting all up in Bronny's face. I was just happy to see that for sure. Would have loved to win. Would have loved to see the offense not look like it's just Ant-Man dependent because gosh darn, that was rough. That was a rough watch offensively. I mean, we expect them to do good defensively. I mean, like I said, maybe this the JJ Redick Lakers where they're just a little bit more offensively sound and everything. So that's just me. That's my final thoughts, folks. And hopefully that was some good stuff, right? That's right. I'm all by myself. So yeah, should be some good stuff, right?